At a baby shower meant to celebrate new life, her husband stood up and announced he was leaving her in front of every guest, every family member, every friend who had come to honor the child growing inside her. She was 7 months pregnant. Her hands went to her belly instinctively as if she could shield the baby from the cruelty in the room. When she begged him to stop, his mother smiled. "Tell her the truth, Daniel. She deserves to know." And he did, every devastating word. In front of everyone, before we go further, if this story has you gripping your phone, hit subscribe right now and drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Let me know you're here. Your support keeps these stories coming. Now let's get into it. Sofia Reyes had planned every detail of her baby shower herself because that's who she was, the woman who held everything together. The pastel decorations, the little sandwiches, the playlist that mixed her mother's favorite salsa with the lullabies she'd been humming to her belly for months. She was 31 years old, 7 months pregnant, and more in love with the idea of her family than she'd ever admitted to anyone. Then Daniel stood up from his chair. "I have something to say," he said, and the room went quiet with the particular silence that precedes something awful. Have you ever felt the temperature of a room change? That's what Sofia felt, cold spreading across her chest even before the first word left his mouth. "I'm leaving, the marriage, the house, I'm done." Someone gasped. A plate hit the floor. Sofia's hands found her belly. "Daniel," she whispered, "please, not here." But his mother, Alina, was already on her feet, composed, satisfied, dressed in ivory like this was her occasion. "He should have told you months ago," Alina said, her voice carrying easily to every corner of the room. "Before you got yourself into this condition." This condition, as if the child inside her was a mistake Sofia had made alone. Sofia looked at her husband, the man who had cried with joy when he saw those 2 pink lines, who had painted the nursery himself at midnight because he couldn't sleep from excitement. That man was not standing in this room. The man standing in this room had cold eyes and rehearsed words. "You knew about the money," Daniel said. "You married me for the security. Don't pretend otherwise." The accusation landed like a slap. Around the room, heads turned, phones lifted. Someone was recording. Have you ever been so blindsided that your body forgets how to respond? Your throat closes, your legs hollow out. You just stand there while everyone watches you break. Sofia stood there. "I want you out of the house by Friday," Daniel said. "My lawyers will contact you." And then he walked out of his own baby shower with his mother on his arm. The room slowly, painfully resumed breathing. A few guests tried to approach Sofia. She waved them away. She didn't cry. She wouldn't give them that. She picked up her purse, walked to her car, drove until the streets became unfamiliar, and pulled into a parking lot where she could finally fall apart alone. But here's what no one in that room knew. What Daniel didn't know. What even Sofia didn't fully understand yet. She wasn't alone. She had never been alone. 3 weeks earlier, an envelope had arrived at Sofia's office. She hadn't opened it yet. Life had been too full, too loud, too pregnant for paperwork. It sat in her bag, soft and slightly wrinkled, while she drove through streets she didn't recognize. She opened it there in the parking lot, hands shaking. It was from a lawyer she'd never heard of, representing an estate she'd never been told about. Her grandmother, the one her father had been estranged from, the one who had died 2 years ago without Sofia ever getting to say goodbye, had left her everything. The number on the page didn't make sense at first. She read it 3 times. It made sense. $3.2 million. Sofia sat with that number in the parking lot for a very long time. Outside, the sky turned pink, then purple, then dark. A baby kicked inside her, hard, deliberate, as if making a point. "Okay," Sofia whispered to her daughter. "Okay." The next 90 days were quiet on the surface. Sofia moved into a small apartment across town. She hired a lawyer, not the one Daniel expected, not a family friend, but a sharp woman named Patricia who listened for 40 minutes without taking a single note and then said, "He doesn't know about the inheritance." Sofia shook her head. Patricia smiled slowly. "Good, let's keep it that way." Because Daniel, it turned out, had been the one with debts. Hidden ones? Business loans co-signed by his mother, a company that looked profitable on social media and was hemorrhaging money behind it. A lifestyle funded entirely on the assumption that Sofia's steady income would always be there to quietly absorb the excess. He hadn't married Sofia for her money. He'd married her for her stability. And he'd left her because he thought he'd found something better, a younger woman, a fresh start, a clean break from the family he'd never actually wanted. Sofia learned all of this the way she learned everything, carefully, patiently, without letting her emotions run faster than her facts. She had her daughter to think about. That focused everything. The moment came 4 months later at a charity gala Daniel and Alina attended every year, the kind of event where they performed their version of success for an audience of people just as performative as they were. Sofia walked in wearing a simple black dress. Her daughter was 3 weeks old, home with a sitter, and Sofia had left a voicemail on the baby monitor just to hear her own steady voice on the way over. The room noticed her immediately. Alina's face went rigid. Daniel's drink stopped halfway to his mouth. Sofia didn't rush. She found the people she needed to find, the investors Daniel had been courting, the board members of the foundation Alina publicly chaired. She had conversations. She asked gentle questions. She let information move the way information does when it's true, quietly, unstoppably, from person to person across a room. Then she found Daniel. Sofia. His voice was careful. "You look well," she offered. "I am." He studied her for a moment, searching for the broken woman he expected. He didn't find her. "I know about the other company," she said, low enough that only he could hear. "The one that isn't in your name. Patricia found it. The investors in this room don't know it exists." She paused. "Yet." The color left his face. "I'm not here to destroy you," Sofia said. "I'm here so that you understand clearly, finally, who you were dealing with this entire time, and what it's going to cost you to be fair to your daughter." He was fair. The settlement took 11 days. What Sofia built afterward wasn't revenge. It was architecture. She established a foundation in her grandmother's name that provided emergency housing for pregnant women leaving dangerous situations. She funded it with a portion of the inheritance, staffed it with people who understood urgency, and named it after the woman who had loved her without ever getting to show it in person. She also quietly made sure Daniel's business debt became public record, not by leaking it, but simply by allowing the legal proceedings to run their course. The truth has a way of surfacing when no one is working to keep it buried. Alina called once. Sofia let it go to voicemail. On the day her daughter turned 1 year old, Sofia stood in a garden surrounded by people who had shown up not to watch, not to record, but to be there. Her daughter sat in the grass, deeply confused by birthday cake and absolutely delighted by it, and Sofia watched her with the particular joy of someone who has stopped waiting for life to be given to them and started building it herself. She thought about the baby shower, the cold room, the recording phones, Daniel's rehearsed cruelty and Alina's satisfied smile. She didn't feel anger anymore. She felt something cleaner than that. She had signed nothing away that night. She had only been shown, earlier than most people are shown, exactly who she was standing beside and given the chance to stand somewhere else. Her daughter looked up at her with cake on her chin and grabbed a fistful of grass and laughed. Sofia laughed too. Some people break you open to expose you. They don't realize they've also let in the light. If Sofia's story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you're going through something that feels impossible right now, a betrayal, a loss, a moment where the floor dropped out, I want you to know. The woman you're becoming on the other side of this is the most powerful version of you there is. Subscribe. Comment below. Tell me your story. I'm listening.